Well, I believe it was sophomore year.
Yep.
We were in the same class at Stanford, sort of the intro philosophy, the
Ah,
core philosophy class, philosophy 60, I believe.
actually, I think it was philosophy 80. It was Mind, Matter, and Meaning. It was Michael Bratman.
Yeah, I think it was philosophy 60, but maybe
Yeah.
it was 80. It was Michael Bratman, winter quarter, 86, 87
Yeah.
school year, and and I think we ended up spending an hour or 2 hours on the quad arguing about life, the universe, and everything.
Yes, exactly. It was kind of the beginning of years and decades of more or less taking any sophisticated intellectual position that one of us had and taking the negation of it. And that was where the other person would likely be.
No, I don't think it's always oppositional.
Yes.
I think I think we always were looking for what the truth is.
Yep.
We had, I think, two views. We were driven by two views. One was that we didn't have the full truth, and secondly, that it was possible to get to the truth. And I think you always want to have that blend between an awareness of your ignorance on the one hand, but secondly, not being complacent with that and just wallowing in your ignorance, which is the bad way to go.
And not only trying to find the truth, but actually, I think partially those are the years where I began to formulate the theory of what the US needed was more public intellectuals,
Yes.
which is people saying what the truth could be or might be in order to shape where we should be going. And our discussions were part of that. And I think that was actually part of the reason we also ended up combining our campaigns running for student senate.
It's always coming back to Stanford always has such a strange feel because it seems like just yesterday and a universe away at the same time. These universities are always designed to look identical to, I guess, reassure the alumni. And it always has this very strangely reassuring and at the same time jarring feeling to it.
Yeah, the first couple years I came back, it felt weird because it felt like I should be participating, like I should be arguing with people, bumping into people, talking about what, kind of a new class, a new theory, a new professor. And now it actually just feels like, I'm visiting and I've been, so many generations have passed since we've
Yes.
been here that it's.
There've been a lot of one of the really cool events that we both did at Stanford together was in early 2005 at this was a speaking event at Tressiter, post PayPal. You were just getting started with LinkedIn,
Yep.
and the social networking movement phenomenon was just really getting started. And I remember there was this panel. You, myself, I believe Sean Parker was on it, and it was sort of where were the next great companies going to be started. And I was suggesting this was a difficult search problem. Where should you find the next great startups? This is a classic search problem. And to simplify the search, I suggest you should look within a 5-mile radius of Stanford.
Yes, exactly. In part because also the whole peninsula's density of doing interesting software projects is that people move here. Like, for example, Max, moved from, University of Illinois because Max Levchin, who was
Yes.
Peter's co-founder with PayPal, and a number of other folks move here. So you create a density at which the possibility of the interesting companies coming out of it is within a relatively short radius.
How much do you think things have changed in the years since we were here?
You mean since
The late 80s?
1990?
We don't want to date ourselves precisely.
Yes. Well, I don't. I think one thing has happened is the whole blossoming of the entire entrepreneurial scene. So, I mean, it was known that we're startups. It was known this was a place to start things, but it wasn't something that, for example, undergraduates were particularly thinking about going. Like, I'll leave university and I'll go start a company. I think that whole thread comes from how cheap it's to do a software company now, how many different successful consumer internet companies you've had with essentially folks who are either just out of college or 1 or 2 years out of college. I think that has mammothly, permeated the entire campus.
Yes. I'm teaching a class on how to start companies this quarter at Stanford, and we had like 300 people sign up for it within the first week. So it's back to an intensity that I think you saw briefly in the late 90s, but it feels much more real this time.
Yes, well, because the cost and the revenue model is entirely different. This is one of the reasons why people say, well, is it a bubble like Web 1.0 is a bubble? It's like, no, because actually the costs of running these businesses is substantially lower, the possibilities of revenue are higher. So unlike just kind of a theory, it is actually, they can be running businesses pretty effectively.